Welcome to another episode of the Strong Family Project podcast. I am Joe, joined by my lovely wife, Mel, and we have another good one for you today on things to do over the summer. We both have some ideas to bring to the table, some mindset, some strategies. Mel, go ahead and read us in.
Welcome back to the Strong Family Project podcast, where we guide you on the path to raising confident, independent, and resilient children in a strong family environment.
If you've listened to the last couple episodes where we're doing our interviews together, we like to add a new feature at the beginning of each to test out to see what you like, to add a little bit more to it than just our topic of the day. Mel, are you ready for our features?
Okay.
I will go first. My feature is going to be a Q&A. This one came in from our email. Gentleman, I believe he was from Uganda, has an issue that a lot of us have had before, where it's how do I balance my traveling for work with my family life? And honestly, it doesn't even have to do with traveling for work. How do I balance how busy I am at work with family life? Now, this gentleman has to travel for works in his case, but also many people work and they do other things outside of work and they get a very busy life. So Mel, what is one way you can balance that busy work life with home? It's not a full topic for today, but it's just one tactic.
The first thing that came to mind for me is setting a boundary. So knowing that at some point when you're home, and I'm not sure if he brings work home, but setting that boundary of like when I'm home or when I'm at dinner with my family, that I will be 100% present.
The old wherever you are, be there comes to mind when you say that. And that is important because I know I struggled with that for a very long time when I was teaching and running our fitness companies and then I was coaching as well and doing homeschooling, where summer would come around, which is leading us into today's topic, and it'd take me 2 or 3 weeks to adjust to not having that schedule that is so regimented. And I would just be thinking about work because I felt like I should be working, so I was so used to it. And then to have a 8-week time where my schedule completely changed and then go back, it took me too long to shift, and I wasn't enjoying those couple weeks with the kids.
That's a good point.
One other thing I want to mention on this one that came to mind is a tactic, and that is you can do other things to build relationships with your family when you're not physically present. Mel's talked about journaling, where you do a back and forth journal. That'd be great. You can do a certain time where you call. You can do a certain activity when you are home to bridge that gap between work and being present at home. So you can make a deeper impact by purposefully doing these activities versus just letting that home time happen. So you got to make the most of it when you do have to travel for work. And that is challenging. However, it's very doable and it's worth it.
And I think that one of the benefits of these days, there's video calls. So it doesn't just have to be a phone call. You can actually see the person. And I think even if it's a quick time, I think that's a great way to connect.
All right, let's talk about connection over the summer. Oh, did you have a segment?
I did. I was going to ask you, what most surprised you this last week?
You go first.
Okay. So our kids, and this will also lead up into our topic, our kids finished school this week. So Thursday was a half day, and I went in like I normally would and dropped them off. And I was surprised that when I drove away, I started crying. Not that I'm not totally surprised that I was emotional about it, but I didn't expect that like rush of emotion to hit me. And it was actually more of a happy thing where I've been so grateful for this last year. We really had a wonderful year at school for all 3 boys. So I just had this rush of emotion and just had to let it out on my way to Walmart after dropping them off. So that caught me off guard.
So for what surprised me, I have 2 things. I'm not going to go very in depth on them on this podcast, but one is that Logan had some issues with choosing to do an activity with the family, and he was sorry for it because basically he didn't want to go for a hike because he wanted to sit on the couch. And when I came back, he was sorry for it, so we went on a hike by ourselves, and it turned into an epic adventure. We got stuck in a cave with hail and lightning coming down on us on a ridge line and really bonded us together, and that was a surprisingly positive experience, even though I told him the reason why we do these things is because he chose to sit on the couch. Like it taints his own personal opinion of himself, but also the tribe, the culture. And so you need to do something to basically show that you respect yourself and the values that we have set. And he understood that. And I understood that. I told him that. And then afterwards, like, how proud everyone was of him, even though it was like very intentional. We were doing that for that reason. It was still surprising that it is so true. Second thing, friend Rocky took us on he has a Jeep, likes to do off-roading, and he's a really nice guy, loves to teach our kids things, and we're blessed to have people in our lives that pour into our kids as well, because it provides different perspective than just we can as parents. And I am shocked the kids didn't wreck his car. Like, he was adamant, like, hey, I'm going to teach him how to drive this down this private mountain road. We're going to do some rock climbing or drive through puddles and stuff. And I remember when my dad would be like, all right, back my truck out of the driveway. And I'm like 10. And he's just like yelling instructions from the yard. Hey, give it some gas. But I would. And then he would yell, oh, I meant to be in drive, not reverse. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like 9 or 10. So I almost wrecked his truck, drove into a wall because he was not great with instructions, but our kids did not. So I was pleasantly surprised by that as well.
That's really good. I didn't necessarily think that they were going to be driving, so that was a surprise to me, but it sounds like it was awesome.
They learned a lot, and it is good, part of our family emergency action plan, that kids should have a general knowledge of how to use things, whether it's phones, whether call emergency, where to go when something happens. So if they have to move a vehicle slightly, they should have the ability to do. I'm not, hey, go drive to the hospital or something, but you got to be able to move something in case of an emergency and know when and not be so scared of it and things like that. Let's go into summer topic.
Okay, so we recently did a podcast about trying to find the opportunity in every situation. And a couple weeks ago, I started considering summer's coming really soon, and I don't want to let it just slip away. So I really want to see this summer as an opportunity. And part of that, I think part of summertime is, of course, relaxing and kicking back, and that's absolutely part of what we're going to be doing. But I think I had this like sense inside of me that there could be something really awesome that could come out of this summer as a family unit and also as the individuals in the family. So I got really excited and started making notes. I have 4 pages of a list of things that we could do. But my first thought was, in planning for summer, I think the first part is the fact that there's planning involved, and I'm seeing it as an opportunity. So I don't just want to say, hey, it's summertime, go do whatever. I'd like there to be an element of opportunity and an element of structure and planning ahead. So that's my first thought, just in terms of mindset about summertime. And I understand families have different circumstances. We are home. Joe works from home all the time, and I do to a degree. But I think these things can still apply, whether your kids are going to be going to a camp or a sitter's house or a friend's house. I think these things can still apply to a degree that can help just push your summer to the next level.
Give them a little teaser on how many you have, and I'll see if I can match it. It looks like 4 or 5 on your notebook.
Yeah, I have 4 ideas in terms like general ideas. My list back at my desk is like 100 things.
Now I also have 4. Okay. So we'll have 8 ideas.
Okay. And this opportunity part wasn't really one of the ideas. It's more just the overarching, seeing summertime as an opportunity for growth.
Yeah, I was at a business meeting. I was doing some consulting, and one of the people at the table, Devin Gage, was talking about summertime, and he heard this concept. We were recently featured on a podcast called the 18 Summers Project, where it puts into perspective how many summers you actually get with your kids. Roughly 18. And so if you just kind of let them happen, like with Logan, we have about 5 left. Yeah, cry it out, Mel. We got about 5 summers left. And okay, you know, we should be intentional about these times, because they're not going to have summer vacation after the next 18. After they're 18, hopefully they're productive members of society. Life's right. Not a vacation for them, because being productive does help your mental health and a lot of other reasons. But hopefully they are busy. So this is about it. And so it is very important to put some effort into what you are doing during the summer, regardless of the age of your children or how many summers you have left.
And when you first brought up 18 summers to me a couple of years ago, just the concept, I did not like that. I'm like, never talk to me about that again. I don't want to think about my kids growing up. And I oftentimes, my personality, I have to feel that first. And then I'm like, okay, now let me think logically. Let me actually think about what I want to do. Let me think about our values and how that would fit. So I don't want to just walk around feeling sorry for myself that my kids are growing, even though I struggle with that. I want that to then ignite something in me to pursue a more exciting summer than I would have if I just sat around feeling sorry for myself. So the first thing on my list And I think I'm thinking about this because school just ended, and I had Everett write his name the other day, and he forgot how to write a certain letter. And I thought we need to make sure we're taking some kind of thinking towards summer slide, which is when kids lose some of the information they learned from the previous year. So just to recap, we have a 5-year-old that just finished preschool, a 5th grader going into 6th, and then an incoming 8th grader. So I just thought of one simple way to continue some work with them on their writing especially. We find that's really important, including reading. So I'm going to start a back and forth journal. I went and I bought a notebook for each kid, and I wasn't going to include Everett at first, but then I said, that's really silly. I can write to him and read it to him, and then he can write his name or copy certain words down. But I'm intentionally starting a journal with the intention of helping each child with their own individual needs. So I will write a page or a half a page and ask a question, and then their job will be to write back to me, and then I will write back to them, and we'll go back and forth. And I anticipate and am expectant that will even be better than I expect it to be. Sometimes kids have a hard time telling you things in person, so writing it down could be easier for them, something that's on their mind. So I'm excited about this, not just because I want to help them become better writers, but because I think I might get to know them in a different way. It gives them another opportunity to connect with me. And I remember I did this with one of them through school one year. And oh my gosh, Henry just loved when I would write back, or his teacher would write back. I think that's what it was. It was back and forth between him and the teacher, and he really enjoyed that. So that's just a really specific tactic. And if there's other things that your kids might be struggling with, you could find a creative way to keep working on that during the summertime. But I'm going to do a journal with each of them.
From reading a lot of the parents' questions, it is a bit of overwhelm with general life and a difficult time getting momentum started. So why don't you take that awesome tactic and break it down one more step on what's one prompt they could use to get the ball rolling?
Oh, okay. I think if you start it right after, right at the end of the school year, you can ask them about the school year. What are 3 memories from this past school year or what are 3 things that are most memorable about this school year? Or write to me about one of your friends that you sit at lunchtime. So it's still connecting them to the school year. If you just want to forget about school, a different prompt would be, what are 3 things you want to learn this summer? Or just 3 things you want to do this summer. And then you get an idea of where their head's at with how they want summer to go.
Another idea would be, complete this picture for me. Draw half a picture and let them complete the other one. So it doesn't have to be just writing. I know we're going to be focusing on writing, but depending on the age of your children, you can mix it up a little bit as well.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I'm going to do my first 2 together. So my first one for the summer is to look at popular summer ideas. See what the crowd's doing. Some families need to do things like summer camps because both parents work perhaps, and they don't have the time during the day, and the kids are just going to be sitting at home while the parents are at work, and it's tough to juggle. And so summer camps can be a great idea, and they're popular. There's nothing wrong with looking at what's popular and seeing if it's a fit for you. Do it with intention, and here's my tip for it. Make sure you use the right language around it. You're going to the summer camp so that you can learn X, Y, and Z. We're investing in the summer camp so that you can do this. We're investing in this so that you can have this experience. Not, we got to send you to camp because mom and dad are really busy. That's different framework. You're doing the same thing. You're investing the same amount of money and time, but the framing is completely different. The child's mind thinking like, oh, my parents don't have time for me, so I have to go to this camp, versus my parents are investing in me so that I can go to this camp. Very different mindset, same thing. You can look at what's popular. You can sign kids up for it, but use the framework of explaining why, as in how it benefits them versus how it benefits you.
And this connects, I think, with the first thing I mentioned about journaling, because if you are both working and your kids are at camp and you're not having that extra time together that other families might have in the summer, journaling is a great way to connect. And it's pretty quick, and it just keeps you connected to your child in a different way.
My next one, look at what's going on out there and do something completely different. So we do what's popular, check to see if this fits for you, or be creative is my second one. And here's what I mean. Maybe what's popular is going on a 2-week summer vacation, 10-day summer vacation, whatever families go on. Maybe that's not a fit for you, and you have to think outside the box. You don't have to feel guilty. Oh, we can't go away for a week like the neighbors can. We got to keep up with the Joneses and things like that. Ignore that if that's not a fit for your family. Do something that is a fit for your family. I personally don't like to invest a lot of time traveling. the act of traveling is time that you're not spent together. So if you're driving 5 hours and going to go look at something and driving 5 hours back, you can do it a different way. Son Henry loves hotels. We could go 10 minutes away to a hotel and he could just, as long as it has a pool and a breakfast, he would think it's like the best vacation spot in the world. It's not actually going somewhere. It's that they love, because no one really uses the hotel pools, as long as you get a good one, not a weird one. The kids love stuff like that. Little almost staycation, which a term is popular, but over the summer still people feel obligated to travel. And travel is also expensive. You could do something very different at your house. You could go call the local party rental place and order a bounce house, a couple $100 for the day, versus driving somewhere to look at something. You have kids out playing at the bounce house all day and say, hey, I just wanted to do this to make your summer special, versus like driving to look, I don't know, a tree or whatever, a rock. Wow. I drive to look at rocks and big holes in the ground, Grand Canyon, things like that, super popular, but that's more for me and less for the kids. It's just the time together, which is important for them, and doing something different. So you can create what's called a pattern interrupt in their summer by doing something unique at your house for a day, and not have to take time off of work if you can't, and travel, which if that stresses you out, it's better to be unstressed, de-stressed,
less stressed.
It's better to be less stressed and home doing something unique. Rent a bounce house, trampoline, bungee run, one of my all-time favorite activities. If you had a bungee run, I would be in heaven all day long outside running back and forth on those inflatable bungee runs. Love it. Slip and slide depending on your age of kids, bungee run for teenage kids. Like, there's a lot of things you can do and rent that you can do right at your house, and they'll remember that more than if you took them like 3 hours away to a park and spent the same amount of money, and then you're all stressed about traveling and all that.
And I think this also points to finding gems in the area where you live. I was not good at that when we lived back in upstate New York, and I think I could have invested some time in finding some real gems there. Part of why we moved was we wanted to be in a place where there's a lot of opportunity. So half of my list is just things that we could go and places we can hike, nature centers we can visit, just in like 30 to 40 minutes of our house. So following our values to move to a place that has a lot of that, I'm going to be taking advantage of that. I think part of why it's easier for me to do that here is because we haven't even been here that long. So it's almost like treat your hometown as a store of treasures that you haven't found yet. So I think if you think of it that way, it's more exciting, and you can find things that are close by that won't require all the planning of a long trip. So that was one of my other things. That's one of the things I wrote down, especially going outside, being outside, finding things, and just seeing your neighborhood and your hometown. Maybe there's a park you haven't visited before. So seeing those gems out there as opportunities. Okay, my next one was setting individual time with each child. I think this is tough to do during the school year, oftentimes because there is after-school activities or whatever going on. But this became very evident to me recently. So Joe mentioned earlier the other day that Logan decided to stay home and we went on a hike, and actually Ever ended up staying home as well. So it was Joe, myself, and Henry, and it was like really awesome. I was sad that Logan didn't come, of course, but he got his own adventure later. I got to see a different side of Henry. He was just chit-chatting, and we were finding all these cool things in nature because it was raining and hailing and it was beautiful out. And it just clicked in my mind that I need to set aside more time individually with him, whether it's a 15-minute walk. I love that when we go for hikes and walks together, but there is some kind of beauty in spending individual time with a child. They might not say things to you when the other kids are around. This happened also the other day with Logan on a walk. He was upset about something. I had no clue. And had the whole family gone, I don't think he would have opened up. So I think to find some kind of unique way, or just find time each week to spend some individual time, each parent to each child, would be really special over the summer, to make that a priority.
All right, excellent. My next one is to throw in reverse a little bit. At the beginning of summer, you should ask them what they want to do this summer, like a summer goal list. Yes, we are going to stick to our routines, our morning routine, our contributions / what people call chores, our exercise routine. It is a good opportunity to teach them that habits don't just happen when you're in school. Habits are things that you find important to do on a regular basis. And so we're going to hold the standard on our habits, but we're going to see what else they want to accomplish. Henry wants to learn certain skills about soccer. Logan wants to learn how to cook some more meals he's been working on. He wants to do more 3D printing. He wants to possibly do some blacksmithing, which is an opportunity they have at the library here. He wants to get his tool room certification. The library here actually has a tool room as well. And if he takes the safety class, then he can go and build some things with the saws and stuff like that. And so getting a list of what they want to do and then being realistic, because the summer is not as long as I thought when I was a kid.
Right.
When I was teaching, I was also coaching football, and all the way throughout my high school and college we were playing football. So we had to go back 2 weeks early. That's half a month off the summer that I never really had. Our kids start back middle of August here in our state, and they both are going to play fall sports. So that's 2 weeks prior. Both their fall sports are going to start. So it really gives us like 7 weeks. And to see what we can accomplish in 7 weeks versus treating summer like it's some everlasting gift and then being surprised when things are ending because we weren't well planned. So getting a list of what they want to accomplish, seeing what actually fits in the weeks with the items that I mentioned for our kids. It could be a camp to help satisfy that. It could be us going down with them to the library and help them go through a safety course. Whatever it is, it's got to get planned out or it's just not going to happen. And yes, most people have summer quote unquote plans, which is a vacation that happens during a small piece of it. And then they float during the rest of it. They spend 2 weeks planning for the vacation, they come back and they spend 2 weeks catching up for it, and then the summer's over. And so being realistic, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to learn this summer is a great question. Get a list, just like in our goal setting podcast. I think it's episode 2, one of the more right at the beginning, where it teaches everyone how we do family goal settings. It's critical to do over the summer. Do a summer block for goal setting. Hold your standards, hold your habits, sprinkle in all the stuff they want to do that is practical, and make summer a magical, full experience versus a one-time vacation.
Yeah, goal setting was part of mine here. And practically a great time to do that, to talk about it, is at the family meeting. So our kids are actually at church camp this weekend. They did the middle school one right after school ended for the weekend. But the next time we do a family meeting, we'll bring this up. And I think I will make it my first or second journal entry now that we're talking about it, because I'd love to. I don't want to put that off. I want to get that started as soon as possible. So you covered that super well. So they might have things that they want to work on. I also have some skills I would like to work on with them. So something as simple as I want to teach them how to do their own laundry and fold their own laundry. I know that sounds really boring, but I plan to make it fun. So we can play music at that time. Maybe we can have these little chat cards where we ask questions, whatever it is. I want them to have that skill when they move out. And I haven't really done well with that. And I think some 13-year-olds already do their own laundry, but that's one of my goals for the summer, that I want to teach them some more skills around the house. Joe mentioned cooking. I'd love to do some more cooking with them, do some research in what they want to try to bake. Henry was helping me with landscaping outside. It was really fun because we were trying to get some plants and move them over closer to the front of the house. But they're learning skills. Everett got super into it. He was watering the plants. He was getting us dirt. So I think sometimes if you just start something, a lot more can come from it than you even expect. And we also wanted to do some skill learning about emergency stuff. So we were going to create a go bag. We live in an area where wildfires are a possibility, and we need to be prepared for that. And Joe just took a course about, what was the course again?
Community emergency response training.
I'd love to take some time this summer and take some of the skills you learned and teach them to the boys. So want to know what they want to learn this summer and do. I also have my list of what I would like to work on in teaching them some skills.
That's a critical one, and it really depends on your area, but kids will need skills. Those laundry skills are critical. Yes, ours are a little bit different with wildfire. We had a bear at our window the other night, and I don't mean by our window, beak pressed against the window, getting the old snout right in there. Hey, get out of here, bear. The kids need to have some skills around the things that affect our life, and so just hoping bad things don't happen isn't really a plan. Summer's a great time to have fun around teaching these skills. And I like what Mel's saying there with the laundry and the cooking. Here's my tip on it, is at the beginning of summer, along with the goal setting, is you define what success looks like at the end and you test it. At the end of the summer, you can go through your laundry basket, run your full laundry, fold it, and have it back in your drawers. Now it's test day. Let's see what happens. And it's accountability day. And so defining what success looks like, setting them up for success and teaching them, but then also have that moment where they quote unquote graduate that task is going to be important. So they have that feeling of independence versus just a murky, I can do this thing.
That's a great point. And that's another thing that I'm going to be working on is setting up what does success look like you said. Because it's easy to be like, yeah, I'm going to teach you this. And then time just goes and then, oops, it didn't happen. And I've talked before about I love visuals. So, of course, I will be typing this up and printing it out so we can see what we're working towards once we make some decisions about what we want to learn this summer. Do you want to go with my last one?
My turn.
Okay.
I just went with a goal setting. Don't try to hog them all.
You stole the goal setting from me.
My next one, make your kids responsible for a portion of their entertainment. Make it scheduled so that they know exactly what they are responsible for. So we're talking about a lot of things that we can do as parents. However, schedules, stress levels, mental capacity, all has a role to play in this. And so the kids also need to understand they are in charge of their own entertainment and skills as well. So I'm considering something like Saturday morning until noon, you're responsible for coming up with an activity to do together. That allows us to do our podcast time. This is Saturday. Boring is when we do it. They can't become dependent or expectant on us to entertain them at all times. You can make it whatever fits from Friday from 4 to 9 p.m. It's going to be your entertainment time. What do you want to do? And they can do board games. They can come up with their own activities and go for a hike. They can go for a walk. They can involve you. They can do it themselves. They can do some journaling. They can do some reading, whatever it is. They can do a movie night to some extent. I'm not huge on that, but they can come up with their own entertainment. If you tell them like you're responsible for this day, for these hours, I think they will pleasantly surprise you versus leaving it vague, which is like you're responsible for taking care of yourself sometimes when I'm busy. Like they won't know what that means. Give them a block of time that the expectation is they're going to take care of that time.
To give an example, I think it was last Saturday when we record our podcasts, and then Logan and Henry have to be responsible for entertaining Everett to a degree. And they took a bunch of board games. They went out in the truck and sat in the truck bed and played board games. I love that. I think sometimes we feel so responsible to entertain them, but they come up with really great stuff. They were outside for a long time. I think they even took a walk on their own one time. So they will come up with cool things. We need to make sure that they feel that we help them have opportunities to be creative.
And the key part is have clear expectations. This is your time. If you want to teach them how to cook, this is the one night a week that you're responsible for the meal. What's it going to be? How are you going to do it? Okay, go. And so not just, hey, you're responsible for this sometimes. When I need help, do your laundry. Like, we're busy right now. Go find something to do. All too vague. Give them a block of time and let them own it. And that's where you can see some real magic.
This slides well into my last
I'm not done.
idea. Oh, sorry.
Almost, though.
No, that's okay.
I could have been.
That's all right.
I like your transitions. You're picking up the speed here as we get up to episode, closing in on 30 already.
I appreciate that.
Yes. Speaking of which, before I get to my last point here, we are up to almost episode 30. We're better at saying this at the beginning, but if you are enjoying getting value out of these episodes, if you're writing some things down and leaving with ideas, press pause, give us a written review on Spotify or Apple or wherever you're listening to the podcast so that more people can hear this. And we remain super motivated to give you more from our lives and our family experiences. And so that requires a little bit of back and forth. We're not doing this because we enjoy bright lights and microphones. We do it because we enjoy talking to parents. So if you have already done that, just shoot us an email with what you'd like us to chat on. It's all available in the show notes for you, where you can contact us, ask us a question. We'll chat about it at the beginning of one of the episodes. So be a part of the community is the expectation here. All right. So to my last point, we've been keeping these kids really busy. They got out of school, Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday at 12. Yep.
We did the huge family hikes on Thursday. My hike with Logan, the lightning hailstorm experience. We got up the next morning at 5:15, got picked up by a friend to do the rock crawling, which I mentioned. We went out, we did rock crawling until 1 p.m. We rushed home, got the kids home. Mel packed them up, took them to the church youth group camp, which they are there until Monday. And it's just been nonstop scheduling. And when we do things like that, it's going to be their expectation of, what's next? What are my parents going to do for me next? And right when they come back on Monday, we'll feed them dinner, get up early the next day, and we're going whitewater rafting with another family. It's great to do it like that. And we're very excited for all these things. And the kids have been very thankful, shooting thank you Evershot, thank you video for the gentleman who took it, Rocky, who took us jeeping. I don't know what it's called.
Rock crawling?
Yeah, I don't even know the terminology. It's all happening so fast. Make sure they stay anchored in gratitude, or they'll become dependent on you for all their entertainment or other people. And we don't want kids that have unrealistic expectations. They need to show some humility and gratitude and thanks for all the things that they are getting, regardless of what they are, whether it's that bounce house, bungee run. If you get a bungee run, let me know outside your house, or you go on the big vacation, whatever it is.
This makes me think about how once we started this podcast and we're getting out there, once we moved here and knew what our values were, we started to meet families that we have a lot in common with. And we did not plan for this weekend to be this busy since finishing school through Tuesday. Rocky just randomly called you up and said, can we go rock crawling this Friday? And then another family said, hey, we're going to go to Buena Vista and raft on Tuesday. You want to join us? So we've also made a commitment to, when opportunities arise, if we can make it work with work schedules, we're going to say yes, we're going to go do these things. So that's one piece of it, is this is opportunities that are arising. I think a lot of it is because of choices we've been making and how our values work. But I agree, you have to be humble and grateful and not expect what's next all the time. So I appreciate.
You're going to have to wait a little bit extra for Mel's, because I have one bonus one. My number 5, I'm going to squeak in before yours.
That's okay.
Because it is very related to it, which is lean on the expertise of your existing friends and circles. When we lived in our old area, there was a gentleman that did his own maple syrup, and we had the kids over, and the kids study how do they make this maple syrup, tapping the trees and boiling it down, and this whole process. We knew someone who had skills that I didn't have, and we leaned on him to help teach them. He brought his tractor over one day, and we did a stump removal. The kids loved that day because it was a skill set that he brought over. There's skill sets of people that you work with that a friend of mine, Kevin, I would love to have my kids hang out with him for a day, just to learn from how he thinks about life and business and finances and his family and things like that. And he's taken us hiking before up to the Adirondacks, and we did some things with him. We did this Jeep thing with Rocky. We're doing whitewater rafting with Rodolfo. We did rock climbing with Trevor and his family. There are people in your circle that if you are hey, if you're the people that like to say yes and figure it out, you're going to have more opportunities. And if you're oh, it doesn't fit my schedule all the time, it's not ever that convenient. But making it work and then showing immense gratitude to these people who do pour into your family is going to be valuable. So it could be a friend, family member, neighbor, like I said, family member in there, spending some time building something with a family member that knows how to do it. All very valuable summer activities. Go ahead with your last one.
My last one is to not forget the value of being outside and to keep tech in check. I didn't even mean for that to rhyme, but it did when I wrote it down.
Dang.
So right now, we let our kids have 3 15-minute segments a day, and then they can have 5 15-minute segments on the weekends. And I asked Joe the other day, I'm like, are we going to increase that? Are we going to leave it? And he said, nope, we're going to leave it. So we have to make sure that when they have this extra free time, that they don't just pour into more video games or pour into more tech time, because I want them to be able to use their creativity. So I think that nowadays in the culture we live in and how tech is just a part of life, we want to make sure that we are intentional about how we're handling that in the summertime. Because I think the assumption would often be, oh, they're just going to be playing on their tech a lot more. So we're going to have to be intentional on keeping it as we have it, and they're going to use their creativity and figure things out. And obviously we're going to work in, you could tell from what we were talking about, there's lots of ideas and goals and skills we want to work on. So we'll have to take that on, and I think it'll be much smoother than we expect in terms of, are they going to just want more tech time because they're home more?
All right, listen, I will do my final thoughts, then you'll do your final thoughts, and we'll wrap it up.
Sounds good.
So let's land this airplane on summer activities and ideas. Number 1, regardless of what you do, work on your messaging and how you explain it to the kids and why you are doing it really matters as much or more than the activity. Look at what's real popular in the area and see if it's a fit for your family. Look what's real popular in your area and decide if it's not a fit for your family. Be different and be creative. And I gave some ideas in the podcast on how to do that. And my last one is understand that you are not responsible for all of your children's success. They are responsible and accountable for their success. So it's a good time to practice accountability and gratitude. Give them tasks for them to complete. Be very clear on the times that they can entertain themselves. And then track progress by testing at the end of the summer so that they can see the growth that they had, not to say, oh, you didn't accomplish X, Y, and Z. It's, wow, look how far you came in these 7 weeks of summer. Amazing job. And so have a lot of clarity around that language and that growth and the humility and the gratitude and the accountability, and make sure that's practiced regardless of whether you're a big vacation person, a staycation person, or let's just be here and work on skills together type family. All of it matters. However, the language you put around it will make it a success or failure in a lot of instances.
So just to recap mine, have the mindset that summer is an opportunity. And you covered that quite well, but I want to make sure that we put that out there. It's an opportunity. Things can be awesome or things can be boring and terrible. So see it as an opportunity to make things really special. Find ways to connect with your kids. Like I said, an individual way. I think it's important to spend that individual time. And that even can include that journal. And that kind of almost accidentally brings it, purposefully from my perspective, but brings in that trying to avoid the summer slide. And also just finding another way to connect with your child. And maybe you'll learn something really cool about them. And we covered trying to find out what they want to learn and some skills that I would want to include for them to learn and to keep that tech time in check. And I'm excited about it. I have this feeling like if I put the planning and the time in and I include them, all their thoughts are valuable. What they want to learn is valuable. So this is a team effort. It's not just mom planning the summer and telling me what to do. So again, that perspective of team effort and seeing it as an opportunity, it'll be exciting. And we should talk about how summer went once it's over.
All right, press pause on the episode, press stop on the episode, and get a notebook out, set a timer for 15 minutes, and do a brain dump on what you want to accomplish this summer. And then you can start defining success, and then you can be successful, but it won't happen unless you get on it right now. So go ahead and get started on your brainstorming. Visit us at strongfamilyproject.com, where we lay out the path, including our goal-setting formula, which is really important to have successful events, times of years, things like this. Thank you for listening to the episode. Talk to you on the next one.